Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1849 AN. Today's date is April 23rd, 2019, and the title of the episode is All Exits Blocked, Plan Executed, Transition Coming. Now, I want to talk about Trump and how he's draining the swamp. It's taken 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants for Donald Trump to announce the attempt to tie him to Russia interference in the election campaign had failed. He just keeps rolling with the punches. If you're a fan of the president and you want to show your support, you might want to celebrate the news with one of these solid silver or pure gold President Trump Freedom Coins. Go to TrumpCoin2020.com and also make sure to use the code X22 to save $5 off per silver coin, and use the code X22 with gold at the end to save $100 off the gold coin. To get these coins, don't forget to click the link below and use the code X22. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, Trump and the Patriots, they have executed the plan. We know the blockade is gone. We know they have free rein to push this plan forward. And what Trump and the Patriots have been doing in the meantime is they've been blocking every exit for the deep state, for the central bank. And they have no place to go. They have no place to hide. And we'll be talking about that in just a minute. But I wanted to head out to the UK because Theresa May, she is trying once again to push her withdrawal agreement for a fourth vote. Now, again, the individuals in Parliament said, listen, if you're going to give us your plan, it can't be the same exact thing. So it looks like she's going to change a little bit here and there to make it look like it's a completely different plan. But we know what this plan is all about. We know this plan is the plan of the EU. It's not the plan for the people. And I don't think this plan is going to go anywhere. I don't think they're going to say, hey, yes, we accept it now. I think it's going to be voted down. And I think after, 3-4 times, it's time to end it. I do believe this time period that they have right now is a stall tactic, and the EU is going to try to stall once again. And I think the people of the UK need to say, okay, you know what? It's time to break away. And the EU, if they hear this, they're going to try to stop it through fear or anything else. And we know from the past, this is what they did when they were voting for the Brexit. If you vote for the Brexit, the economy will completely collapse after the vote. None of this happened. What they're afraid of is that if the rest of the world sees this country break away from the EU and the country does well, the rest of the countries that are with the EU, they're going to see this and say, we need to break away. You think Italy's not going to say, hey, you know something? There's no reason for us to be with you. We're breaking away. It's going to be like a domino effect, and they know this. Now, back here in the United States, we understand that the Patriots, Trump, they're working against time because this central bank economy was never designed to go this long. And this is why Trump has pushed for the Federal Reserve to keep the interest rates steady. Do not raise them. Actually, I do believe that he's going to continually tweet out there that he wants the rates cut, and I think the Fed is eventually going to cut the rates. And then you're going to see the ECB cut the rates. But what we see happening right now is that existing home sales, which we said yesterday, they are collapsing. New home sales in March, they soared by 4.5%. And the reason why they're soaring is because prices are coming down for new homes. Now, we need to remember something very important, that new home purchases only account for 10% of the market and are calculated when contracts are signed. So when these individuals decide not to go through with it, we have a completely different number the next month and the month after that. But we are seeing prices come down. Now, at the same time, we see mortgage rates starting to tick up. And this is why I do believe that Trump, the Patriots, they're going to push the Fed into cutting the rates, especially if the economy starts to decline and things start to get really, really bad. I think they're going to have the Fed cut rates, and I think they should do this way before everything starts to go downhill. Now, what's very interesting, we know that there are certain individuals that are keeping the gold prices down. And every time We watch this, and every time we observe this, it's the same thing over and over and over again. So today, around 8:30 in the morning Eastern Time, all of a sudden, someone dumped 11,500 gold future contracts into the market. Guess what that did? It brought down the gold price. And this is around 1.5 billion notional of the precious metal. So they dumped this to bring the price down, but they couldn't get it down the way they normally did. It only came down something like $8 or $9, and then it started to tick up once again. So as you can see, their methods, well, they're not working like they used to. And it's getting harder and harder to keep the gold price down. But they're going to continually try. Why? Because the central banks right now, they are accumulating gold because they know the fiat currency system is dying. They also did the same thing to silver. They dumped the paper contracts and they brought silver right down. Now, very interestingly, there were no headlines, nothing was going on, and at the same exact moment, they dumped the future contracts. Gold prices declined and the dollar increased. Now, every time moving forward where they try to dump these paper contracts onto the market, you're going to see that the gold price, it doesn't come down as much as it did the last time. And you'll see that it becomes harder and harder for them to keep the gold price down, which means they're going to have to use many more paper contracts to try to accomplish the same thing they have been doing for many, many years. And what's going to happen eventually is that no matter what they throw at the gold market, the gold price is not going to stay down. They might bring it down, but it's going to pop right back up. And this is a signal to everyone that gold, silver is breaking free of the manipulation. And this is something to watch. And if you notice, they just did this a couple of weeks ago. And they're continually trying to bring down the gold price. Because all these private Western central banks around the globe, they're accumulating gold. China's accumulating gold. Russia's accumulating gold. Because they know the fiat system, it only has a certain period of time left. And once that system completely starts to buckle under the weight of the debt and everything else, they know they're going to need gold. Now, this doesn't mean the private Western central banks are going to control each and every one of these countries, because I think there's something else planned behind the scenes, where many countries like Russia, China, the US, and many others, they're planning to make a move to restructure the entire system. Now, what's very interesting is that Paul Krugman, who works for the New York Times or writes for the New York Times, he continually tries to make prediction on what's going to happen with the market, saying the market's going to crash, we're heading into a recession, and things like that. And we need to remember that Paul Krugman, he was awarded the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences for his contribution to new trade theory and new economic geography. And he's been hitting Trump pretty darn hard. And Trump finally came out and tweeted the following. Paul Krugman of the fake New York Times has lost all credibility and has the Times itself with his false and highly inaccurate writings on me. He is obsessed with hatred, just as others are obsessed with how stupid he is. He said market would crash, only record highs. Now, you have to remember that Paul Krugman and the rest of the deep state, they thought they had complete control of the entire system. And their plan was to bring down the system during the presidency of Trump. And the way they were going to do this is they were going to crash the markets, raise the interest rates, and have the markets come down, have the real estate market come down, and the whole thing would fall apart. And when all these individuals were out there saying that we're heading into a recession, they had the date, they had the time, they knew exactly what was going to happen, it was because they had this plan. Trump controls the magic wand. He has his people inside the Federal Reserve. He's controlling the Federal Reserve, and he stopped everything that they were planning to do. And this is why they got it so wrong. Now, think about what he's been doing here. He hasn't been just complaining about the Fed. He's not just pointing the fingers. Trump and the Patriots, they have been blocking all the exits for the central bank system. Remember, they want the illegals coming into the country to increase population. They didn't get the president that they wanted. That was going to bring them to war, which would then cover up the collapse, which would allow the system to reset and population to grow again, and no one would have noticed anything. Trump was in office, so they needed more illegals coming into the country to keep this system alive. Trump decided, something, we're going to build a wall. They never thought he was going to build a wall, but he's building the wall. And he's stopping the illegals from coming into the United States. And this is a problem for the deep state and for the central bank, because there's many agendas associated with the illegals coming into this country. The same problem is happening in Europe. All the Middle Eastern wars where they were having regime change to prop up the petrodollar, that is coming to an end, and the people are taking control of their countries, which means the people are going to decide what they're going to use as payment for this oil. Now, if there are no wars within the Middle East, they don't have the refugees flowing into Europe. This is why Soros was out there saying, something, we should pay for the refugees from Africa to come up to Europe. And this is because they don't have these people in the Middle East to flood into the European countries. So everything that they were trying to do is coming to an end. It is all blocked. No illegals coming to the country. No refugees coming into Europe. Controlling the central bank. And not just controlling the Federal Reserve, but controlling the ECB. Because those central banks, they're following what the Federal Reserve does. Think about it. The Federal Reserve was raising rates, and the ECB later on was going to start to raise rates. And this was going to bring down the entire European countries, and then it was going to flood back here to the United States, and the whole thing was going to crash. Now that the Federal Reserve is in a holding pattern, the ECB is in a holding pattern. When the Federal Reserve cuts rates, the ECB is going to cut rates. So you can see there's complete and total control of the central bank system. Trump is dictating to them what is coming next. And what is coming next is a complete reversal of what they have been planning, because all their exits are completely blocked. Everything that they were trying to do, it's blocked. They have no place to go, and they're completely exposed. And the next stage is to have a crisis. Yes, there's going to be a crisis, but it's going to be a crisis that is controlled and pushed forward to get rid of the central bank. It's not going to be a crisis that hurts the everyday person. Yes, there are certain people that are going to be hurt because we're going to be moving out of this central bank economy and moving into a new economy that is being developed by the patriots, where there's going to be trade, where there's going to be sound money, where there's going to be better deals, where there's going to be incentives to bring companies, manufacturers back to this country to repopulate those areas that were stripped by the removal of all these companies. But there will be a transition period that certain people, they're going to have a difficult time transitioning. But what I do believe is happening is they're trying to make it as easy as possible. And of course, they can't make it perfect. That's impossible. There's going to be individuals that are going to struggle through this period of time. But once we get to the other side and everything starts to click into place and the economy comes back online and gold or whatever they're going to use to stabilize the system, once that happens, we're going to see things completely change. And those people that were hurting, well, they're going to see things start getting better. Now, if you want to protect yourself going through this transition to make it a lot easier, I would make sure you have prepping supplies. And prepping supplies is just not food or medical supplies. Prepping supplies are purchasing gold and silver to ensure your wealth. Maybe even having cryptocurrencies. They're both on the same page. The central bank hates them. They can't stand it because they can't control it. If they could, they would come out with a cryptocurrency and say, okay, world, this is the one that you're using. That's that. They just can't allow a cryptocurrency to be free and open in the entire world because there'd be no reason for them. And they can't have that. They can't have gold because why then would we need the central bank? We wouldn't. And this is what they've been trying to stop all along. The plan is on track. The exits are blocked. And every single person needs to be ready for this transition that we're going to be going through. And it's going to be completely different than if someone else was as president, if the central bank had control, because they were going to make it miserable for the everyday person. They were going to strip everyone of their wealth. Every single person using what? Bail-ins. Everything has changed now. But still, we have to get from one system to another. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.